Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, and today this is Talking Downey with Mario and Eric. In today's podcast, we have a breaking story that's happening in the city of Downey that we thought it was pretty important to share. We're blessed to have on Talking Downey with Mario and Eric, obviously my co-host is Eric Pierce, the editor of the Downey Patriot, who has broken a big story today about something that's going to impact the residents of Downey for a long time. And the topic is about firing our city manager, Gilbert Levis. We also have with us our former mayor, Alex Saab, who worked with Gilbert Levis in so many different councils and continues to work for the city of Downey in helping making our community great. So I wanted to turn it over to Eric Pierce. Eric, thank you for breaking that story. It's pretty important because it's one of the most important positions in the city. Some could say even more important than the mayor that both Mr. Saab and I had shared. So you want to tell us about the story that you broke with the Downey Patriot and some of the background behind it.
Yeah, so I reported this morning that a majority of the city council is ready to fire Downey City Manager Gilbert Levis. The reasons are not quite clear, but according to my sources, it is council member Sean Ashton, Mario Trujillo, and Catherine Alvarez that are ready to fire him. All it takes now is scheduling a special meeting where they would make it official. According to people who I've spoken to, Mayor Claudia Fermetta and Mayor Pro Tem Blanca Pacheco are opposed to dismissing Gilbert Levis. They would prefer to keep him. But as of right now, it seems like they're getting ready to let him go. The mood at City Hall right now is very down. It's very kind of depressing. Sure. Because Gilbert Levis is very popular at City Hall. He's been city manager for 10 years, and he was brought on earlier than that. So he's been in Downey for quite a while, and.
Eric, I'll tell you, this is so disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on there, but this is so disappointing, and that's one of the reasons that we're having this episode. Gilbert Levis has served honorably and ethically our community for many years. We've had two city managers for 32 years. We had Jerry Caden for 22 and Gilbert for about 10. I was mayor when we first hired Gilbert Levis as economic development director, and then we made him city manager. I was one of the votes to make him the city manager. And to hear somebody like, I don't want to slap him around, but you know what? Sean Ashton hasn't done anything for 7 years. And now this is his last year, and he's going to come out and want to fire somebody on an urgency basis when we know he hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, come on, listen, when Sean Ashton, I've heard the rumor when he was fired from LA Unified as a teacher, and he kind of took a year off, and we didn't see him at City Hall for about a year. And now his last year, because his wife is running for council, and that's the other rumor. It's like, come on, this doesn't make sense. Like, if they want to transition, it's always the council's right. But to do it this way, to put City Hall at jeopardy, who's going to want to come into City Hall and to be the next city manager when a council, on a whim, can get rid of a good city manager that quickly? Who's going to come in next? Assistant city manager John Osque's got his own baggage, or a little bit of baggage on there, that people on there, and he's only got a year left. So is that something we really want to do? This is a big deal in our community, and people may not realize that, and that's why we're doing one of these shows. And I wanted to make sure that, Alex, you were quoted in his story. And it's important to have you here. You have a great reputation in our community, serving our city, and we'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Sure, thank you, Mario and Eric, for inviting me today. It's exciting to be your first guest, I guess. But Eric, I think it's important to give a little bit of background for those viewers and listeners on why the city manager, why this is such an important story, and how it can affect our city. I think one of the things that has made, so Downey is an independent city. We're a city that we don't contract out services to LA County, very few services. So having said that, I think that's what's made our city so special over the years, is we're independent. We have our own police, fire, school district, and it's run by the city manager. In essence, it's like a business. They have 800 employees, $260 million budget, and there has to be a leader at the top, right? And it's like a CEO of a company. It's a city manager in this case. And Gilbert Levis has been it's going to be 10 years now in January since he became city manager. And one of the things about that position historically and what has always been in most cities, cities that do things right, is that position is not politicized. That person stays away from the fray, that a person doesn't get involved in elections. That person is a government employee that has been educated and trained in how to run city governments. So in our particular case, we've been fortunate, as Mario said, in 32 years, we've only had 2 city managers. And that says a lot about our city. That says basically that we're a stable community. Being a stable community, I mean, the word, you have to understand what that means. That means more than just the fact that, you know, we don't have a volatile city council. What that means is it trickles down to, you know, property values, city employees, turnover rate, businesses wanting to invest in your community. Nobody wants to live, work, or invest in a community that is constantly in the news because of scandals or, you know, yo-yoing up and down. So we've been fortunate, and we've been a very, very stable community throughout the years. And arguably, I think Mario would probably agree, is because we've had 2 strong city managers throughout these years, which we may not have agreed on, right, Mario?
Absolutely. But one of those
You're
things
right.
that maybe he did push back on the council, which
Yeah.
is exactly the right thing to do.
Exactly.
So if you're not getting your way all the time
Right.
on there, that says a lot for the city manager.
Sure.
And you need 3 votes.
Absolutely.
So that's why this is so stunning, because yes, it is. They probably have the legal right to do it. They definitely don't have the moral right, or this is just so unprofessional. It sends a big message. It puts us as a laughing stock of other communities that have had those issues. You get a new
Sure.
council every 2 years. In what? You're going to get a new city manager?
Sure.
So listen.
And that's another problem, Mario, as I think you alluded to also, is that once you start destabilizing your municipality, well, you're not going to attract those seasoned employees, seasoned people that have the experience, because nobody wants to work for a city that's volatile. Nobody
Right.
wants to work
Right.
at a
Good
city
point.
hall where the city council may let you go on a whim for no cause. Obviously, we're not in the council. We don't have all the information. This is all, there's some speculation to a certain extent here, as we were talking about. But what we do know as former mayors is we can share our experiences we've had with Gilbert Levis. And I know myself, you know, we've always had, it's a very formal, we're not friends, you know, we're not, you know, my buddy, but he's a very professional, honest, ethical person that I can say in all my years, and every elected official that I've known, except the city council, that I don't talk to many of them, but every elected official in the last 10 years that I've spoken to that has worked with Gilbert has said the same thing. He's exceptional. He's an exceptional leader, and so that's why I think this is such an urgent issue. Why you guys brought it up, and I think
He's
it's
well respected in the region by
Very
other
well respected.
municipalities, the other cities, and other elected officials.
Mario and Knox, when you were both on the city council, was there ever a time when the city council considered a change in city manager? I'm trying to figure out if this is new or if this is
not in my time.
no.
Not in my
Never.
time. We gave
Never.
the city council, and I can't tell you things on there that we discussed because it was in closed session and with its personnel related. But I can tell you this, in all the years, I personally and every one of the council members that I can speak for, we all gave him really good reviews. He was also, there were certain things that we wanted him to work on.
Sure.
We had a discussion with him. I was appointed to represent the council along with former Mayor Gaffin many times, and we would go talk to him, and these are the things that we wanted
And
to.
they would get done.
They would get done.
That's
The
one thing
following
about him.
year at the
Oh, they'd
review,
get done.
it was like, okay, how did he progress
would
on
get
these
done.
things? So he grew, he was already ready there. And I remember when we first hired him, you know, there was a year of transition when we had Jerry Caden and Gilbert was the assistant city manager. We already hired him because we didn't want to lose him to other cities. So during the transition, we told him he's going to be the city manager. We made that publicly. So there was a year transition. It was great stability for our city. All the department heads knew what was going on. All our businesses in our community knew that. So that's the way it should be. Gilbert has earned the right to retire from the city of Downey whenever he wants, but okay, if the council wants to, this isn't urgent. He hasn't done anything unethical, illegal, and it's almost insulting to the residents.
A week before Christmas.
A week before Christmas, that they would even consider this, number one. Number two, talk to him. There needs to be a grown-up in the room. Talk to him, and yes, maybe you want to go in a different change of direction. Give it a process. Do it over the next year. You know, the department heads depend on that. Our community depends on that. This would be so bad for us. There's
So-
nobody that can fill in that should be able to fill in when you have a good city manager.
Well, you lose the institutional knowledge.
Absolutely.
You use
Absolutely.
employees, department heads that he has hired because
Yeah.
you know, as I don't know if you alluded earlier, but you know, the city council's role really is just to hire 3 individuals: the
Right.
city manager, which is the most important decision a council can make. I think of any decision it makes, the city attorney and also the city clerk. But the city manager is the CEO. You know, he or she runs everything. So it's such an important decision, and for him to, you know, I haven't heard of any just cause or reason
It
behind
seems
it.
arbitrary,
It seems
doesn't
arbitrary.
it? It does.
Alex Marl, so people I've spoken to today and over the weekend at City Hall expressed concern that if they do let go, if the City Council does let go of Gilbert Levis, it could lead to departures of
Oh, for
other
sure.
department heads. Do you see that happening?
Oh, there'll be a mass exodus because, as I said earlier, well, first of all, those people were hired by Gilbert, which he's done a great job. We've had very stable, obviously, our police and fire. We have public works. We have Parks and Rec, finance. These are all people that he handpicked. Through his many years of experience, people that are, you know, not new on the job, and you know, of course I can only imagine why would they want to stay. So once again, you have, you know, these
Domino effect.
institutional, you know, knowledge of the institution, and then from there it'll start trickling down. And then what happens is who are you going to find? The city of Bell recently let go of it. Obviously, you know, to bring up Bell in this, you know, it's an odd conversation to have, but they had to let go of their most recent city manager, whom I heard was pretty good, and I've talked to some over there, and they've said it is so difficult right now to find someone, and that's a perfect example because
Yeah.
not only are they a small city, which is another challenge in itself, but who's going to want to go work over there when they've had, you know, unfortunately they've had all these scandals in the past. A person, you know, is not going to unless you find someone that's, you know, that just wants to, you know, start padding their resume, but we don't want that. We're a mature community. We've been around for a long time. You know, we have almost a $260 million budget. You know, we don't. That's not what we want. When the day comes, there should be, like as Mario said, an orderly transition where, you know, the current city manager would train or have somebody, you know, in the batter's box, and it would be an orderly transition. That's what the mature organization would do.
Right.
I mean, unless there's an emergent, you know, something
Right.
emergency.
Maybe he did something.
Sure.
Yeah.
That happened. Well, I remember you guys let go of the city attorney.
Right.
And that had to happen. You know, it had to happen. I have not, nor can I imagine that there's anything that, you know, that the city manager has done that would require this kind of, you know,
Well,
really.
you know, Alex, it's when you're talking about the different department heads, we have some very mature department heads. We have that have been there for a long time that have stayed past their retirement. Number one is they're good at their job, they're great at what they're doing, and number three, they enjoy working with Levis. Let me give you a great example. Okay, Anil Gandhi, our finance director. Okay, he's like 3 or 4 years past retirement. Okay, he enjoys what he does. He is great at finding dollars and saving dollars and the institutional knowledge on there. I love him from our city. And there, whether he'd stay, I'm not speaking for him. I don't know him as a friend. I just know him as a very competent finance director. And you know, there's a reason why in the downtimes, you know, we've had large reserves in the city of Downey. We've been able to weather the storms. That's because you have management that knows how to plan, it has been planning, along with the city council. You gotta have a conservative or moderate city council that wants to put money, not spend all the money right now. And our rule used to be, listen, we'll do it sometimes on one-time projects, but we didn't wanna spend reserves on ongoing expenses, because then you might, why? You know, why? But that is the bigger issue. What department heads are you gonna get, you're gonna leave? Listen, you know, we have, you know, 5 unions in the city of Downey. People don't realize that, you know, from the public safety to internal, and they're, you know, how's that gonna continue to happen? And how are you gonna negotiate with them and work on, I don't know, this is a big can of worms. It didn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen this way, and I'm saddened for our city.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. Don't do it this way. I beg them not to do it this way, and let's get a grown-up in a room, let's talk about this.
And I should point out that I did reach out to the city council for comment, and I haven't heard back So they do have an opportunity to please share their opinions and give us their insight on what they want to do.
Sure,
know
and
what?
the public should.
Bill.
The public should have.
Yeah.
If this happens, which I hope it doesn't, it should and must, in my opinion, go to a public vote. And I really hope that the residents get informed about this.
So you think the public should vote on whether?
No, I didn't say
No.
vote. I said the public should have an opportunity to be heard.
Comment.
Got it.
Yeah,
If
excuse
you
me,
put
maybe
this
so.
on the agenda, I want to go there and
Yeah.
talk to them and tell them, the public should be able to say, wait a second, why are you doing it? And you know what, the one thing too, and I would have done this, being on the council, I did do this when several opportunities that I had to, you know what, tell me the reasons why. If I'm Sean Ashton, Sean, why are you doing this? Give us the reasons why you're doing this, tell us, so the citizens can understand. And the reasons aren't going to be very good, because there's no reason to fire Gilbert Levis on an urgency basis. You have the complete right and authority to transition, okay? He's earned the right, our community has earned the right to do this the right way. Shame on them if they do it this way. And that's the one part I'm talking about.
8 years, I just left the council last December. 8 years of solid reviews, solid reputation, feedback, every council member.
Yeah.
And there's some of us, we haven't agreed with each other. Some of us have done more than others. But I could tell you, all of them have had nothing but positive things about our city manager, because we know what goes on there at City Hall, and staff too. I mean, I think that staff. As Eric said, I also spoke to somebody this morning, just on another issue, and they said that they were down, and it is sad. I mean, that shows the leader that he is at City Hall. That people at all levels there are saddened and concerned. But
I can't believe it's coming to this, by the way. I can't believe we're even discussing this.
I
a week
can't
before
believe it, but
Christmas.
we've been talking about it
Right.
for years. We've said
Right.
they're circling the wagons around the city of Downey.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the cities, around, not necessarily all of them around, but some cities around us have been embroiled in scandal after scandal and after scandal. But we've been able to hold the line. We've had very strong council members that have been doing the things for the right reasons,
You,
that
Rick
are
Rodriguez,
righteous,
several
that are
others.
doing the right things for the right reasons, and together coupled with a good staff, strong city manager, we've been doing well, and the city residents, the residents appreciate it, and they see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this past year, we've just seen a whole other churn after Rick and I left. It just seemed like there was a whole different shift in
Alex,
the
what a
sentiment.
great lesson to our residents to keep vigilant, to make sure they look at who they vote for, to make sure elections do have the consequences. This was one election, and it was just barely turned. There was a little gate open there in the walls around the city, if you will, and bad stuff started happening. So I think that's something that no matter who you vote for, this isn't political left, right, or whatever. This is just looking at the people that we're voting for in the future to make sure. So if there's a lesson here, make sure we're vigilant on that. Next year we'll have an election. Hopefully there'll be a recall election in January to be put on the ballot. But you also have a regular election next November, and make sure we're vigilant on who we vote for. But this is so bad.
At all levels
So
of government
disappointing.
too. I mean, how many times have we said, you have the local, you have the county, you have the state, and then you have the federal, and obviously the presidential. But I can tell you what probably affects all of us the most is your local election. Your local election is what really affects your neighbors, your trash, your streets being cleaned, your water being delivered. That's what affects you. President, left, right, Republican, Democrat, at the end of the day, our lives are going to go on. But our local elected officials, that's what's going to affect. That's what's going to affect your neighbors. That's what's going to affect you, and that's what we need to be. Apathy really takes down democracies, and unfortunately, we're seeing that.
And I feel like residents they put their trust in their elected representatives. They put their trust in the city council to make decisions based on the right reasons, not for anything else, not for personal gain, not for whatever else it is. They trust the city council members to make the right decisions on behalf of them and behalf of the Downey community.
Absolutely, it's a representative government, and that's what we expect that from our elected officials. Unfortunately, it seems like, I'm not just talking about Downey, it just seems like it's just happening more and more. They keep letting us down. They keep having ulterior motives. They keep telling us one thing and another. And I'm not here to say that I was perfect nor Mario was perfect. I mean, sure, we all make mistakes. We did the best we could, but it seems like it just more and more, these elected officials, and like I said, not limited to Downey, other areas as well, they're just not fulfilling what they said they were going to do.
And Eric, you know what makes a big difference on there? The local media.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because I think that's one thing that's made Downey special, having the Patriot here for the last 20 years, because you've been the watchdog, and you've been elected the watchdog by the people just by
Subscribing
readership
and
and
reading.
subscribing and reading and so forth. So we appreciate that. The fact that you got this story, the fact that you're getting it out there, hopefully there'll be a discussion before they go forward and do this. But that's what makes it a little bit different, having a local press. Some of the other local cities that got in trouble did not have that representation. So
It's a check and balance.
It is.
It's a check and balance. We saw that in Bell. They didn't have a newspaper. We saw in Southgate at one time. They didn't have a local newspaper. So that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate our local paper, the Downey Patriot.
Well, we're going to continue covering the story and any developments that may happen. The rumor is that a vote could happen later on this week. But we're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens.
Boy, let me tell you, if why have a special meeting? Why not have it at the regular council meeting? And having said that, now why now in December? Why not just wait until January, let things cool off a little bit? I mean, nothing's, is there anything we're going to change in
And
December?
tomorrow night, we're all going to be there for the mayor's transition.
Right.
So tomorrow will be Mayor Claudia Fermena will be saying goodbye as mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem Blanca Pacheco will be installed as the new mayor. Was this something that was that urgent? It just doesn't make sense, the timing of it, and to do all this ruckus when you have a celebratory mood that could have been or should have been in our community. If they do this week on their, shameful, just shameful to them, and I encourage them to reconsider, to look at it, do it the right way. Go talk to him. I don't know who was appointed by the council to go meet after the review with Gilbert Levis, but two representatives on there, go to Mr. Levis, have the discussion, and then
And say, hey, we want to see these changes, and you give them an opportunity to do so,
Yeah.
if that's the case.
Has the damage been done already? Can you go back? Because at this point...
Well, I think Gilbert Levis is a professional. He's a professional.
Yeah.
He's a classy person.
Yeah.
And
agree.
and
Totally
he knows what he has the residents' best interests at heart. And so I think, having spent many times traveled with Gilbert Levis in Sacramento several times,
I went to DC with him a
he's a
couple times.
professional
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
And I know that I'm sure he can move forward. But I get what you're saying. I mean, would I be hurt? Would
We're
I
all
be
human.
upset? Absolutely. But he's a professional.
And it's been a tough year. You have 5 or 6 gadflies that go to the
Oh,
council meetings for the
that's
last
another-
year, and they call him names, and they call the council member names, and they do all this stuff. So
Again, who's going to want to come into that?
Yeah.
Who's going to want to fill those
Yeah.
shoes as a city manager?
Yeah. On top of this.
Go to one meeting and see if
Right,
you'd want to really
right.
sit up there.
Right. And the sad or good part of that is that there's 111,000 residents in the city of Downey that maybe haven't noticed all the shenanigans of 5 people.
Of 5 people.
On the gadflies that cuss and do terrible things at the council meeting, call them names. I mean, some of the names they call our ladies, Claudia Fermena and Blanca, are just obscene. And I think 4 out of the 5 council members have disowned them from that perspective. But shame on our city. But yeah, this is so important. I think you're right. I totally agree. Gilbert is a professional. He's been called names up there for a year and a half, and actually before. We've worked with him. I can tell you that we didn't agree on things. I have complete confidence that he can continue on because he is a professional. And bottom line, the people and the residents, he's got other family living here in the city, so he's always going to have that best interest of that. I've known his family a long time. Didn't know him when we hired him, but I've got to know them. So yeah, this is terrible.
Alex, we want to thank you for being our
Thank
guest
you,
today.
it was
Our
fun.
very first guest.
Thank
talking
you.
Downey.
Thank you. It's my honor. I
We wish
appreciate
it was a happier topic.
Yeah.
You know what? Anytime you want to talk about Downey, I'm there. I
Well,
appreciate it. You guys are
well-
doing a great job.
Thank you. We'll be having you on again.
Thank you.
So folks, again, thank you to my co-host Eric Pierce, editor of the Downey Patriot. He's wearing a different hat tonight, and talking about big story in our city, very important. We're going to try to get this podcast out right away because we think it's that important for our citizens to hear. Mayor Saab, thank you.
Thank you.
We're dear
Thank you,
friends
Mayor.
on their class act. His wife serves our city as school board member, Gigi Perez Saab. Sorry about that. He's raising his family in the city where you can pick any place else on there. So this is the kind of families and the people we want. So thank you for being here.
you.
And for all of us, stay vigilant. We're going to put the information right here at the bottom on there. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Feel free to contact Eric or myself on there if you have any thoughts on this. But please stay vigilant. Please stay safe. Merry Christmas to everyone on there. And I hope our city continues to move forward. So thank you so much.